Check out this video.
Trauma bonding is not what gets people into relationships. It's what gets them stuck. So a person might be drawn, for example, in a narcissistic relationship, to the charm, the charisma, the confidence, the attractiveness, the smoothness, the whole thing, the whole package, and say, woo, wow, woof, I want to meet them. And you meet them and they're every bit as charming as they were across the room. That's attraction. When you're 3 months in and this person's gaslighting you and manipulating you and doing shady stuff and invalidating you, and you're making excuses for that, that's trauma bonding. So someplace between attraction and trauma bonding is a process. And that's the process we'd love to be able to short circuit. But the problem is most of that process is something we call love bombing.
No, and it just brings you into the relationship and makes you feel like you're thinking about them all the time.
Yeah. How do you pull someone out of a fairy tale? It's not easy.
One of those processes could be a sexual-based trauma bond. In my opinion, this is one of the most common issues when it comes to trauma bonding, but it doesn't get talked about very much because of the shame that people feel. Here are 7 signs that you're struggling with a sexual-based trauma bond. Number 1, they move the relationship very quickly, but specifically bringing up sex early on. When you do have sex, it might be the best, most amazing sex that you've had. You'll get showered with compliments, but that doesn't last long before phase 2 starts. They start to criticize your sexual performance. And this form of criticism is used for a tool for control. And before we continue, this can happen to both men and women. Step 3, you start to notice a decrease in intimacy. You might start to notice that the excitement that you had in the beginning starts to get replaced with anxiety. Number 4, you start to feel like your self-worth depends on their approval. While yes, it's natural to want your partner to be satisfied, this is very different. This is due to intermittent reinforcement. And this is where you start to get addicted to the highs and lows and the unpredictability of it. Number 5, you start to notice that they start to use sex as a way to reward and also as a way to punish. Number 6, sex becomes a way to solve problems. It's one thing to reconnect after a disagreement or an argument, but this is more of like sweeping issues under a rug because you've had sex. And number 7, you ignore red flags. You have to understand that trauma bonds cloud your judgment. You might find yourself making excuses for your partner, accepting blame and responsibility for their bad behavior. And if you have brought this up to a friend, family member, or to a therapist, you start defending your partner, even though internally you know that there's something off. If you feel like you're struggling with a trauma bond of any kind, comment or DM the word break, and I'll send you a free trauma bond course where I teach people how to break trauma bonds.